Bhagavane, nirisa nisa bhagavane, nisa nisa mani bhagavane.
Loving Sai Ram and greetings from Prashanti Nilayam. About 2 months or so ago, Argentina was hit by a massive financial crisis. It was big news, and I am sure you must have come to know of it from the TV and the newspapers. I heard about it on the radio. I told myself that this is what comes of placing money before dharma. A few days later, I forgot about the Argentina crisis. After all, there are so many crises, and which one does one worry about? That was how the event slipped from my mind. Sometime later, I received a SOS letter from the leaders of the Sai organization in Argentina. Actually, the letter was not addressed to me, but to a person high up in the organization. The letter contained a frantic appeal. In essence, it said, "Our country is in bad shape. We believe that Educare alone can save the country. Please guide us how we in Argentina can use Educare in various ways and in relation to various sections of our society, so that our country not only comes out of the crisis but also does not have to face such problems in the future." That roughly was the tone of the letter. As I said earlier, the letter was not addressed to me, but somehow it landed on my lap. I don't quite know how, but it did. And there I was left holding the buck, as they say. At first I did not know what to do. But a task had been given to me, and somehow I had to perform it. It was a duty. I prayed to Swami, got some light, and then sat down to write a letter to the people in the Sai organization in Argentina. I wrote in all 4 letters spread over a month, and they appear to have been well received. Today, I would like to tell you something about what I wrote. I can't quite remember when I first heard the word Educare. It was certainly more than 2 years ago, and of course the first time I heard that word was when Swami used it in one of his discourses. When I first heard that word, I even thought that Baba was making up a new word of his own. But subsequently, I realized how foolish I was. I learnt that this word is actually derived from the Latin root educare, and its meaning is to bring out from the root or to develop from latent or potential existence. I repeat, the meaning of the Latin root word educare is to bring out from the root or to develop from latent or potential existence. That is what the dictionary says. Swami has spoken on Educare a number of times, but if you want 2 good references, I would strongly recommend the following. First, his inaugural discourse during the summer course of the year 2000, and second, his inaugural discourse to the first conference of Sri Sathya schools held in Prashanti Nilayam during November of the year 2001. Lately, the word Educare has almost become a buzzword, and lots of people are saying a lot of things about it. I myself have spoken several times on the subject to my students, and invariably the following questions arise. 1. What is the difference between education and Educare? 2. Why is Educare so important? 3. If it is important, how come we were able to manage without it for so long? These are the questions that I would like to deal with today. Incidentally, these questions and the answers to them form the core of my reply to the Argentinians. Let me start with the first question, namely the difference between education and Educare. Swami has given the answer to this one, and one just cannot improve upon it. Baba says, education deals with the information that pertains to the wide world outside, whereas Educare relates to the values that lie within, where they have been put in by God as a gift to each and every individual. Let us digest this carefully. A student goes through school and college, learning many subjects like mathematics, physics, chemistry, botany, economics, management, and so on. It does not require much reflection to understand that every one of these subjects is related to the world outside. One might argue, so what? What's wrong with learning about the world we live in? One must survive and one must also make a living, must one not? Unless one studies such subjects, can we have meteorologists, doctors, pilots, and so on? Therefore, what's wrong with education? The answer to this is straightforward. No one says there is anything wrong with studying these subjects. But the general ambience in which the subjects are taught and the manner in which particular subjects are taught can make all the difference. I say this from my own personal experience, but before I come to that, let me for a moment go back to the period thousands of years ago when man lived under the canopy of the stars and had plenty of time to look around and wonder. He often said to himself, "What's all this I see around me? Where did they all come from? Where did I come from? How am I related, if at all, to my surroundings? What is the purpose of life? Where will I go when my life comes to an end?" And so on. What is commonly referred to as knowledge is the name given to the totality of answers that man has obtained over the years to questions like what I mentioned just now. Thousands of years ago, people in different parts of the world independently came to the conclusion that there is a superior power that presides over everything in the universe and our destiny as well. Mind you, all this happened long before formal religions came into existence. Ancient man realized that there was a God, that this God was omnipresent, and that he granted man the bounties that man prayed for, that the sun, the moon, the stars, the sky, the wind, water, etc. all existed because of this God. There is a sentence of Gandhi that perhaps sums this up beautifully. I recall this sentence in an earlier talk and permit me to do so today also. Gandhi said, "There is an indefinable, mysterious power that pervades everything. I feel it, though I cannot see it." That is what Gandhi said. Tribals everywhere felt this mysterious power and came under its spell, be it in Africa or North America or South America or elsewhere for that matter. The point simply is that ancient man, wherever he was, felt that there was a God above and that man must not only bow to God but also live his life in such a manner that would please God. Thus, ancient man, no matter where he was on this earth, followed two rules that Swami often talks about: Deva Priti and Papa Bhiti. That is, man loved God and he feared sin. Deva Priti means loving God. Papa Bhiti means fear of sin. Now, once these two were there was automatically morality in society, and this is the point I wish to make. For thousands of years, communities everywhere appreciated that morality is the proper basis for civilized existence, and that morality would prevail in society only when everyone personally loved God and also feared sin. Now, this fear of sin is very important. I have personally seen about 60 years or so ago villagers in India saying, "We would simply not do such and such a thing. We are bound by Sathya, and God would not like our doing such a thing." Ethics, morality, and human values were not peculiar to India. They formed the core of life everywhere. 19th century English society, for example, was very much governed by morals, and one hears the phrase Victorian morals used in this context. In America, we have the example of George Washington, for whom truth was very important, and of Abraham Lincoln, whose words, with malice towards none and friendship towards all, etc., are straight out of the 12th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Now, how come people everywhere thought alike? How did they all independently come to the same conclusions and develop similar yardsticks of ethics and morality? Swami has given the best answer to that question. He says that these values flow from the divinity that is latent in every person. And since the same God resides in all as the indweller, it is no surprise that everyone always independently converges on Sathya, Dharma, Shanti, Prema and Ahimsa if the effort is made. Okay, granted all this is true. But what has it got to do with Educare? And why is Educare being so much importance now? That is what I shall deal with next. The best way of dealing with this topic is to compare the situation, say, 60 years ago with the situation now. 60 years ago, there still existed strong signs of morality in society. There was morality in the home, there was morality in the school, and there was morality in the workplace also. True, there were disturbing forces due to the print media and the movies to some extent, but the situation was nowhere as bad as it is today. In that ambience, when both the young and the old were continually exposed to morality both at home and outside, one could impart the conventional type of education or secular education as it is now called and supplement it with some moral education. I received a good part of my education in schools run by Christians, and we had either Bible or moral instruction classes along with the regular subjects. The most important thing was that all my teachers, both in the Christian as well as the Hindu schools that I went to, were good men. They led simple lives and often told us about values and virtues in life, though they were not really required to do so in the classroom. They believed in virtues and values. They led their lives guided by virtues and values, and they really wanted us to lead a virtuous life. After the 60s of the 20th century, there has been a rapid downslide. Perhaps the situation in India is not yet as bad as it is in some countries, but on the whole it is pretty bad. There are several reasons for this. Firstly, the curriculum has become very heavy, unnecessarily so. But the fact is, it is heavy. Added to which, there is the acute competition in just about everything. As a result, no one has time anymore for morality in schools and colleges. Besides, the work culture in society has also changed, and teachers no longer believe that they have an obligation towards society, or the nation, or humanity as a whole. If the situation in the school is bad, the situation at home is no better. Parents, even if they are personally moral, have no time for their children. And to make matters worse, there is the TV, which Swami rightly refers to as televisham. The word visham means poison. Thus, truly, TV is truly telepoison. And last but not the least, there is hardly any trace of morality in public life. Let me get back to the media, for in my opinion, that is the worst culprit. I remember what an American professor once told me. He said, "Do you know how many muggings, holdups, shootings, murder, rape, etc. a young boy or girl in America sees on television from the age of, say, 12 to 25? He gave me frightening statistics. He then added, if the young person continually sees such images, then what else can you expect other than schoolboys carrying machine guns and going on a shooting spree? Now, of course, the media people are very clever and would counter such arguments by saying, who asked you to watch TV or allow your kids to watch TV? But you know how hollow all these arguments are. Money is very powerful and it cannot be fought so easily. So, what then are we to do? Are we to tamely surrender to money? No, and this exactly is where Educare enters the picture. Swami says that we must start with Educare and then add education to it as a superstructure in the present circumstances. What is the meaning of starting with Educare? This is best explained by recalling how they used to initiate young children in this country to education in the years past. The young child would be taken to school on an auspicious day, usually the last day of Navaratri, that is the Vijayadashami day. There in the school, spread on the ground, would be a small heap of paddy. The teacher would take the forefinger of the child in his hand and slowly trace the words Om Namo Narayana. And even as he traced the words, he would chant the words, so that the very first thing the child learnt was the name of God and how to chant it. That is the essential point about Educare. It starts with God. God is first. A couple of quick points before I say a little more about Educare and then wrap up. You will recall that times without number, Baba has narrated how young Prahalada used to chant this very name, Om Namo Narayanaya, even as his father Hiranyakashipu tried hard to dissuade him from doing so. Actually, Swami becomes very ecstatic when he talks about Prahalada. Unfortunately, I cannot go into that at present, but I do wish to draw attention to the inner significance of the Prahalada story. Hiranyakashipu, as Baba has often told us, was a great scientist. He had immense material power at his control. Thus, in a sense, he is typical of modern man, master of scientific, technological and economic power. But Hiranyakashipu was also power drunk, exactly like modern man tends to be. And to cap it all, like that demon king of old, modern man has no time for things like morality and ethics in the curriculum. Indeed, as one educationist bitterly commented, universities today turn out clever devils. Yes, today's educational establishment has got its priorities wrong. Added to which, there is the media fueled by money power that is bent on removing whatever traces of morality there are left in society. If all these things happen, can one be surprised if disaster follows? People scream about terrorism. How is one to know that violence is evil if it is glorified or justified all the time in one form or the other? I shall speak about terrorism on another occasion maybe, but today I would like to make a brief reference to the massive corporate frauds that have been making the headlines recently. I mean, if a person goes from KG to PG, to use a favorite phrase of Swami, without hearing even once about Sathya and Dharma, etc., then how would that person know that it is wrong to take bribes? If society does not want to invest any attention on morality, how then can it expect the citizens to be moral? And so, in today's society where God has been relegated to the background, our first priority must be to install God back on the pedestal and give him the number one place. God has to be priority number one, and that is where Educare takes precedence over education. Now, what is the meaning of making God into priority number one? It means that we must give first attention to the inside first rather than the outside. This is where the meaning of the word Educare assumes great significance. Educare means that we must bring out what is latent inside. What is it that is latent inside? Baba has told us that on innumerable occasions. The human values are latent inside. Thus, the first priority must be to bring out this treasure and make what is latent into something that is patent. Stated this way, it becomes clear that Educare is a must for all of us, particularly the elders. Swami has stated all this very crisply and most effectively. He says, Educare is for the heart. Education is for the head. Educare produces transformation, while education merely provides information. Heart first, and then only the head. So you see, modern education, despite all its gloss and so-called success, merely stuffs us with information that is often useless. In fact, it shuts the door to the heart. Otherwise, would there be so much emphasis on competition? They say compete or perish. That is what animals do. Are we expected to behave like animals? Were civilizations born of competition or cooperation? Yes, the writing is clear on the wall. Carried away by technology, comforts, and consumerism, we have reached a crisis situation. Argentina went through a crisis precisely because of all these three factors. One day it was a very wealthy country, the richest in South America. Next day it was deep in the doldrums. Our priorities must be right. Dharma and righteousness first, and then only artha or wealth, as the Indian scriptures recommend. Commerce without principles can only lead to corruption. If dharma comes first, then clearly educare must come before education, especially in today's society, which has practically forgotten God and morality. I would like to close by recalling an anecdote connected with Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, whose name I mention now and then. This incident happened on the dawn of the 20th century. At that time, a great intellectual fervor was sweeping through Bengal, and many young Bengalis were sucked by it. But many of them were also compulsively drawn to Ramakrishna, who, I must mention, lived in Bengal. One of those so drawn to Ramakrishna Paramahamsa was the great novelist Bankim Chandra Chatterjee. One day when Chatterjee met Ramakrishna, the latter asked, "What is the news?" rather like our Swami often does. Chatterjee replied, "People are excited by modern science, and many young people are eagerly taking to it." Ramakrishna said, "Oh, I see." After a pause, he continued, "Why are they so keen about science? What benefit will it give?" To this, the novelist replied, "Well, for one thing, a study of science will help us to know God better." Ramakrishna then slowly asked, "Which came first, the Creator or His creation? By wanting to know about creation first, are you not inverting your priorities? Is it not like putting the cart before the horse?" Ramakrishna received no education, but he had his priorities right. He was strong in Educare and was always able to draw from the infinite reservoir within. That is why, as Swami often tells us, he is still remembered, unlike the great men of his period, all of whom have been practically forgotten. Today, we need Educare first, and we need it even before education. Indeed, we can carry on with Educare alone, for it would teach us how to care for others, something that modern education fails to. Swami says that man has traveled long distances to go to the moon, but does not want to go a few millimeters within towards his heart. Yes, one who has received education alone would adore those who have walked on the moon, but the one who has received Educare would be thrilled even more by the sight of God walking on earth. And he would do this even if he has never gone to school. You do not have to take my word for it. You can see it every day during darshan here. Jai Sai Ram.